It's Gilbert Burns, Jorge Masvidal. Now look, the UFC led with this in their countdown footage. It was all about the homegrown hero, Jorge Masvidal. We're back in Miami. The big deal, the big show. Now, is Masvidal more than a show? Is he legitimate at welterweight? Can he challenge Gilbert Burns?
Wait, can he, you mean like beat Gilbert Burns? Yeah,
because, Joe...
What does he have to offer Gilbert Burns, basically?
What I'm saying to you here is that the Jorge brand, it's dulled a bit. All right, the heat's come off, but it's still big enough that they lead with it over this amazing rivalry, elite strikers that we've got, middleweight for the title. The UFC lead with their homegrown hero, Jorge Masvidal. And a man who's been in title fights, he's been on the losing end a few times now. People have questioned whether he fits into that picture. A win over Gilbert Burns would confirm that he should, and he was ready to get those matchups.
Right, I mean, yeah, it depends on if you think he will beat Burns, and I think, actually, to be honest, the only way a title fight works for him is the fact that Leon Edwards is the champion. Like, if he beat Burns and Shavkat was the champion, like, you'd be like, all right, well, he's just ruined Burns' chance of getting a title shot. He's not won one himself. So there's that side of it. There's an interesting narrative thing that I want to pick up on, which is Masvidal's kind of hinted that if he loses this, he might retire. Are you picking up on that this might actually just be his final fight, actually win or lose, perhaps?
It's a strange fight to bow out on, and that's kind of why I led with my opening question there, Joe, because I think, although we have kind of laughed and criticised the UFC matching up Jorge Masvidal with legitimate title-holding champions, a man who, some people say has just had a flash in the pan, a man some people say was one flying knee away from taking out the shopping carts. Certainly that lit the touch paper on Jorge Masvidal. And I just wonder, when you look at Jorge, he's taken this fight. Nobody fancies him here. The odds makers certainly don't. They've got Gilbert Burns to win. He's an overwhelming favourite, minus 490. And yet, this could be Jorge's last fight. That tells me that he genuinely believes that he deserves to be there, that he could have beaten Usman. That's why he wanted a second matchup with him. Could have beaten Colby. That's why he took that fight. And can beat Gilbert Burns.
Yeah, I mean, what he has to offer Burns is that Masvidal has got really good, grappling defense. It's near enough impossible to sub. I mean, he had Damian Maia on his back, and it was not phased. Was not phased at all. And, he got damage off in those fights. He got, he's damaged these opponents, The thing is that, we're talking about a man who's 37 years old at welterweight, who's got a lot of miles on the clock, who's probably got a lot of injuries, who it feels like maybe is acknowledging that, time is not on his side now when it comes to his fighting career. Does he have okay, so we know he's got the grappling defense. You'd say he was a better striker than Burns, but he doesn't have that sort of... I feel like he doesn't have that pop anymore that Burns does.
Let me just give you a few facts about these two fighters.
Yeah.
Jorge Masvidal has landed more significant strikes, absorbed less significant strikes, has a higher significant strike defense, a higher takedown defense, a higher knockdown average than Gilbert Burns.
Yeah, but that's also due to the fact that he has so many more fights than Gilbert Burns as well. I mean...
No, I'm not talking cumulative numbers. I mean, on a fight-by-fight basis.
Right.
Yeah.
Just pure numbers-wise.
Pure numbers-wise. Not in absolute terms. He lands more, absorbs less, has a better striking defense, has more knockdowns.
And yet, why are me and you not convinced?
Well, we're not convinced because this is a man who's been on a long skid, but he's been on a long skid because he's been fighting the absolute best that there is.
And he's facing Gilbert Burns now, a man who some people could make a claim he beat Chimaev. I'm not one of those people. I think he lost to Chimaev, who has gone out there, has just smoked Neil Magny, who smushed Wonderboy into the ground as well. Rocked Usman in their title fight. Did more damage to Usman than either Masvidal or Covington did up until Leon Edwards. And then before that had basically rid us of Tyron Woodley as a contender at all in the UFC. He's got really dominant wins. His wins are super dominant. I feel like there's not much argument to be had about them. And again, I know I fixate on the age thing a bit too much recently, but I think there is something to be thought about, because think about this, is that Tyron Woodley is the oldest welterweight champion in terms of the age that they won it. He was 34, and Burns, Covington, Masvidal, Usman are all past that age, and I don't see any of them winning the title this time soon, and I don't know, man. It does feel like a bit of a cashing in on what's left of Masvidal as a draw, and could be a good name for Burns to add. I know you disagree with this.
Well, it's a great name for Burns to add, and if Burns can win this fight, then I've got him. I'm perfectly happy with him challenging for the belt. I just don't see how it makes sense for Masvidal unless he genuinely believes that he belongs in there.
Oh wait, no, he thinks he's going to win this fight and then get the Leon Edwards fight. And by the way, this goes into a bigger thing, but I think Dana White's quite a bad promoter. I don't book fights on Saturday unless it's Colby Covington against Leon Edwards for some reason, because he weighed in. By which reckoning, why isn't Pavlovich the next contender for the heavyweight title? And then also, Edwards just beat Usman, and then what you should be saying is wow, that fight in Miami means a lot more now, doesn't it? Get people excited. Who's Edwards going to face next? Is it Burns or Masvidal? You kind of want Masvidal because of their history. I
mean, Joe, come on. Let's say that Masvidal returns to that form he found in 2019. Darren Till knocked out in London. Ben Askren with the flying knee, and then obviously put the work on Nate Diaz in New York to win the BMF title. Yeah. Let's say he puts on a performance of that caliber.
Yeah,
I'm ready for it.
Yeah, of course. Him versus Leon, the fight to make. Yeah,
sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I'm kind of giving away a little bit how I feel about this fight. I feel like Masvidal's being overlooked a little bit too much.
Yeah, for sure.
A little bit too much. I feel like the first fight with Usman, he gave a really good account of himself.
Yes, all things considered, the matchup. Yeah.
And obviously the second was a lot more definitive.
Hold on. Do you remember your message to me before Masvidal got knocked out by Usman? Do you remember your message? You said, Masvidal's getting into this fight. He's really starting to find his groove. I think he's going to cause Usman some problems in this fight. And then, land of wind and ghosts for you.
Nobody expected Kamaru Usman to land of such a beautiful shot. Nobody.
Nobody.
No. And yeah, I felt like it wasn't outrageous to me that he stepped in there with Usman for a second time. There were questions. I was curious.
I think he earned it though by taking that first one on such short notice.
Absolutely, and giving a good account of himself. The Colby one, that was more definitive. But it's a terrible matchup for him. And Burns, he doesn't have the same pressure wrestling style that Colby does. He's not gonna outwork you cardio wise.
No, he won't spam takedowns in the same way that Covington will, but he will still land them. He'll still land takedowns. He's got really good control time as well. But, I don't know, man. I've seen Burns recently defeat guys who are, maybe just a step below Masvidal in terms of their stature. Although Wonderboy proved perhaps he still does have something to offer against when he faced Kevin Holland. But we're talking about a guy who takes these guys down and then they stay down. They don't get up once Burns takes them down because his grappling knowledge is so far ahead of them. Man, I think if what I'll be interested to see actually is Masvidal going to throw those mid kicks, the body kicks, because he kept doing it against Covington and Usman, almost like baiting them. Was he setting up a head kick there? What was he setting up in those? or is he just going to stick to the boxing? Because I think if he sticks to like a pure boxing style, I think he'll have a lot more success.
Yeah, I feel like that is a product of, again, Masvidal's confidence in his jiu-jitsu and his takedown defense. I think Masvidal really believes he can hang down there and actually get back up. The first thing he said after the Covington fight is he was going to get back in the gym and he's going to practice wrestling some more. You know, I do think he's a competitor. I think he is being overlooked, though. Of course, Joe, you know, I have picked Gilbert Burns to win this fight. I cannot deny gravity.
Yeah. But
I'd like to tease the fact that maybe gravity can be turned upside down once in a while.
What method?
I expect a decision victory. Nobody's really been finishing Masvidal outside of that freak shot. I think you are inclined to another prediction like last time about Gaethje. And I worry for you, Joe. I worry that you've been made a fool out of again, and you will say that Masvidal is going to fall off totally in this fight.
No, I do predict a Gilbert Burns win by decision, but it's more out of like I just don't. I think we need to acknowledge that 2019 of Masvidal was an incredible moment, but you also have to factor in that one of the wins was Darren Till, a man with no knees. The most freakish of knockout wins, incredible game planning, superbly pulled off against a man with no hip, and then an absolute one-sided beating of Nate Diaz for 3 rounds. It's part of me thinks that doesn't quite hold up then once he actually gets to face the top of the division. You know, once you actually break through and it's just like, all right, you're facing these guys now. What have you got? You're not the champion? Oh well, not the end of the world. So yeah, Burns by decision.
Now, just to clarify, that is a takedown heavy approach. Bit of ground and pound, trying to land some submissions.
Yeah, to mass boos from the audience.
Okay.
Yeah, right. That's what we're going to get.
Right, let me just stop you just briefly. Last note on this. Burns knows he needs more than that. He knows he has to finish Jorge Masvidal. He knows what a knockout will do.
Interesting. Yeah.
It's not enough to control Masvidal on the mat for 15 minutes.
If he goes in there and he smokes Masvidal inside a round, you'd say
then he's up.
Number one contender.
Up. Yeah. I don't think anyone would knock him for that. I mean, Gilbert Burns is a kind of, you know, he's a true fan favorite, as in, you know, if you know your eggs.
Yeah, exactly.
And yeah, Joe, it just does nothing for him if he just sits on Masvidal and kind of works a few subs, gets the odd elbow off. I'm not booking you to fight Leon Rocky Edwards. Come on, son. He knows he needs a finish, and I just think that could create some openings for Masvidal. That's not write him off.
I hadn't thought about that in terms of like marketing as well for Burns.
He knows. He knows. He's been out on record. He knows he needs to finish and finish emphatically.
I mean, he will want to do that regardless. Surely, like he'll want to put on like the biggest statement possible.
No, but it's also like that he wants a knockout on the feet, Joe. He's had it before. Tastes good. He's
got the hands as well. He's got the hands for it.
Well, Damien Meyer will tell you about that.